Welcome to an all-new episode of Get Lit with Lianna, the podcast. Join me as I sit down with a new guest author in each episode to discuss their books, careers, and everything in between. Today, I'm sitting down with author Jodie Slaughter, who wrote the new romance book, Bet on It, which is out everywhere today. Soon after starting to chat with Jodie, it became super clear that we have so many similar interests and love so much of the same aspects of romance books. So I had the actual best time chatting with her about our common interests, like our love for fan fiction, why steamy reads are just the best types of reads, how she's included so much different type of body diversity, mental health rep, all of these other incredible and very important topics into her romance novels and what she's working on next. It really just felt like I was talking to an old friend. So I think that this is a conversation you guys will all really enjoy, especially since this is likely an introduction to Jodie's work for a lot of you, because it was for me. Today's podcast sponsor is Probably Smut, your number one bookish shop. They make the cutest book apparel ever. I'm obsessed with their sweatshirts and t-shirts. They are so cozy. And they also make the most adorable stickers with the best sayings on them. If you haven't yet checked them out, make sure to visit their Instagram at Probably Smut and check out their website, www.probablysmut.com. And make sure to use my code GETLIT10 for 10% off at checkout, because who doesn't want 10% off their total purchase, right? So happy shopping, happy reading, and happy listening. My conversation with Jodie Slaughter starts right now. Welcome, Jodie, to the podcast. I'm very excited to have you here because I just finished reading Bet on It not too long ago. So it's still at the top of my mind.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh my God.
Are you freaking out that I loved it? What are you?
Yeah. First of all, freaking out that you read it. That's still a huge, Bet on It is not my debut. It's my traditional publishing debut.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I'm like, oh my God, people are still, it's coming out in a few weeks. And I'm like, people are reading it. People have read it. And then to get to the level where it's some people like it is even crazier.
I actually can't imagine what it's like as an author to put something like this out in the world and then just have people just react to it and receive it and love it or hate it or whatever their feelings are. It's such a vulnerable experience, but I'm so happy that you're here and we get to talk about this book. And I do want to talk about the fact that this isn't your first book, but it is my first experience reading a book by you. I haven't read any of your others. So before we get into Bet on It and everything about it, I would love for you to tell me a bit more about you and what you were doing before you started writing, how you fell into writing before even being published. What were you working on? What were you doing?
Yeah. So, I think I was obviously I never say I was an English nerd. I was an English class nerd.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So was I.
It was more so what the class meant more than the content we were reading, because that wasn't always of much interest or relation to me.
Okay.
But sort of the analyzing the just reading in general, all of that I found that interesting.
Okay.
So I also knew that writing was one of the only things I was good at.
I'm sure that's not true, but okay.
I mean,
I'm sure you were good at
things, but
yeah. Let's not sell ourselves short here. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
That's fair. I've never fallen off a trampoline, so I'm good at that.
Yeah.
But I always knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't know anyone who was a writer, so I was this isn't a thing you can do, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also a huge nerd, and I was into fandom stuff, and so I read fan fiction. Yeah, I read a ton of fan fiction.
Wait, what did you read? What kind of fan fiction? I need to debunk this with you.
Oh, okay. So are we talking what kind of what fandoms I was in, or just my favorite tropes? Okay,
both.
My first fandom was.
I can't wait.
It was a bandom.
Oh, you're speaking my love language? Which band?
Okay. There was a British band called McFly.
Oh, of course. Great. Just my luck.
2000s.
Just my luck. Yes.
If I could scream right now, I would. Yes. I remember watching Just My Luck.
Yeah.
Seeing Tom, seeing Danny, seeing Dougie, seeing Harry for the first time, and being like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like in Kentucky trying to, in like, this is like 2006 or something,
Yeah.
trying to like go into FIE and be like, do you have this McFly CD? And they're like,
I
fuck you. No.
really relate to this on a like deep human level.
And nobody I knew had ever heard of them ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only place I could go to like get all this like burning, incredible feelings about it would be on the internet.
Yeah.
And so all that first fan fiction was like on message boards.
Wait, are you going to tell me Bathroom Wall on Facebook?
No,
Oh, okay.
I wasn't on Facebook. I was on like
Okay.
literal like archival, like old school message board.
I'm dying. Okay.
Like you'd write the fan fiction in each post, and then
Yes.
So trying to find each chapter would be hell because there'd be a million comments in between each. Yeah.
Okay, we were speaking the exact same language.
Yeah.
So there was also Facebook had their own like I don't even know what you would call it, like their own like app on the page where it was called Bathroom Wall. And you could write like anonymous posts and people could comment on them. But there was a subsect of Bathroom Wall that was devoted to fan fiction. And it was,
how have I never heard of this?
Incredible. So I was obsessed also with these like boy bands and pop punk boy bands, especially punk bands. And I live in Canada. And at the time I was living in Montreal, which is like nobody steps foot in Montreal because it's French and people just avoid it like the plague. So when bands would go on tour, they would stop in Vancouver and British Columbia. They'd stop in Toronto and Ontario, but like people would very conveniently slip. Yeah. So I was kind of in the exact same position as you. We were talking about it earlier before we recorded. Like I would always get people to drive me to Toronto, take the train to Toronto to go see all my emo boy bands because I never got my fix. But anyway, so my love for romance reading, I mean, I kind of read YA when I was younger, but like as in like steamy romances.
As a core. Yeah.
Started with the fanfic.
Yes. And so that was my first fandom. But what really got me was Twilight.
Yeah.
Like I'm like
I feel like I got everyone. 13. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was Twilight. And I remember being like, I love this, but I need a little something more.
I feel you.
I need Edward to do a little something more.
Yeah.
And so that's fully how I got into like the super steamy, because I think the McFly stuff was, it definitely wasn't steamy, but it was a lot of like, just like, a lot of like kissing and hand jobs and stuff like that, maybe. But
it was also, at least from my experience in fanfic and how that like led me to romance novels and steamy romance novels, was more like the fantasy, like these situations that I would never experience in my real life, or that my friends weren't experiencing in real life, especially because we were younger. But even just like in real life in general, these romance books are not real life, but like it was just like the fantasy of it was so addicting.
Absolutely. Like the only fan fiction I ever read was romance.
Right.
I was not interested in genfic. So sorry.
I also only read romance fanfic.
Yeah.
Too. Mm-hmm.
It was very much romance, rating M. Like
dying. Same. It needed the M rating. Otherwise it was not worth my time.
You have got no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So but it never occurred to me that like there were novels out there where like two people like meet on a park bench and fall in love, and that's the story. And it's not connected to this fandom. It's not connected to, you know what I mean?
That's really interesting. Yeah. So you didn't realize that like people wrote love stories just about regular people. You just thought the only time that there were stories like that was if you were fantasizing about people who already exist.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. Like, which in retrospect is wild, but I remember like being on Tumblr and somebody was talking about So Sweet by Rebecca Weatherspoon.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this looks like really cute. And I was like, wait, this is like a Black girl, like in this like this like romance something like where you can just like go and buy it.
Yeah.
And it's not, because it's hard to find like in fandom and fan fiction that representation too.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like, what? And I bought it and devoured it in a couple hours, devoured the whole series in a couple hours, like in the night.
Yeah.
And it just like from there, like wildfire, I was like, there are more of these. What
else can I find?
And yeah. And then not soon after that did I start being like, oh my God, I could like write some. And so I tried a couple, and it wasn't, good. But then one day I kind of finally like sat down and was actively like, oh, wait a second. I want to write something. I want to try this. And I tried it, and I actually finished it. And I liked it. And I had this group of friends I was really close with, because we were in a fan fiction writing group, who were there to like be incredibly encouraging and be like, oh, you want to publish? I think this is what we should do. We're all bouncing ideas off each other and stuff like that. So yeah, it kind of just.
And that ended up being your first book?
Day. Yeah, that was All Things Burn.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So what did you do? You went out on your own and published it on your own, or what?
So I went to a very small press, a very small publisher, because I knew that like self-publishing at that moment was not, I couldn't do it.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I'll go with a super small like indie publisher. And because at that point I didn't think I was going to like make any money off of it anyway.
Okay.
So it was, I was like, maybe somebody will buy this book. I don't know. It could just like sit there.
Right. So you went to the publisher. What does it
matter? Yeah. I was like, what does it matter if I get like, no advance and a small, I was like, that doesn't matter. No, whatever.
Right.
And
they published it.
And people actually liked it.
It's wild. How long ago was this?
This was 2019.
So like not even too long ago.
Yeah. So not that long ago.
Insane. Insane. And then your second book also was out soon after?
Yeah. My second book, literally, I was on such a high, like a week maybe after All Things Burn came out. I was like, all right, what's next? What are we doing next? And I'd had this like old idea that I kind of ended up hobbling together with like some stuff which was White Whiskey Bargain, which is like arguably my most popular book.
Okay.
Because people were really like, I think my strong suit as like a creator is like concepts. Because my brain is just ridiculous, and I think
it's amazing.
Stuff.
When I read the synopsis for this book, I was like, what kind of like LSD trip was she on?
Yeah.
When she
I
strung
was
this
high
together.
When I was thinking about the idea. I was definitely on an edible for sure at like a family function, listening to a family member talk about bingo, and I was like, "This is a book." Yeah,
that's iconic.
And I always knew that I was gonna like also self-publish, but I was like, I want to make this my like career. And if I can, I'm going to try it now. And if I can try and like put my heart into it, then I'm going to do it. And so I waited until I got a book that I thought felt right for me. Yeah. Felt right for me, felt important for me, and was also maybe people were going to actually be interested in.
Right.
Like on a traditional level. I started Bet on It just before the pandemic.
Okay.
And then a few months later, I can be a pretty fast drafter. I used to say I'm a pretty fast drafter.
Yeah.
And then I started working on book 2 in the series, and it told me
that you're not
bugging. You're bugging.
I have 1.5 million questions because I didn't know another book was coming, but I really, the trajectory of your career is very interesting and very different from everyone else I've spoken to. And I've done like, obviously a lot of these so far. And even from people that have like dabbled in different types of publishing, like every single person's story is different. And like your reasoning and like your path to leading you to here is unlike any of what like people I've spoken to. So I'm very curious about like how exactly this happened. So the next part, you're like, okay, fine. I want to go take the traditional pub route. So what did you do? Like you had to find an agent. Like what was that like?
I had to find an agent. It was terrifying. I did a ton of, so again, I'm still like best friends with my writing group. And one of my pals, my gals is like one of those like incredibly analytical people, Lauren H. May, who's still like who is like on her own like publishing journey, and she knows a ton. And so she helped me a lot. And so did other authors who I knew had queried, especially authors who I knew had gone from like indie publishing to traditional publishing. Like I talked to Talia Hibbert a little bit. I talked to Rebecca Weatherspoon a little bit, like got some advice. And I made lists of agents. I read a ton of Reddit posts, watch a ton of like author YouTube videos about how did you query? How did you choose how to query? What order did you query? And all that.
Okay.
And so I sent out my first like batch, and okay, you know, you send out those letters and you're like, you have to be like, all right. And everybody says like, you just have to kind of let it go.
Right. You got to brace yourself.
It could be, not only could it be months, it could be like immediate rejection. It could be, you know, nothing. It could be years of this.
That's like gotta like do a number to your psyche, like just to prep yourself from that type of rejection. Like,
yes. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Especially with this book. It's deeply personal.
You could tell.
Walker and I have like kind of similar childhoods in some ways. Like there are events that happen to Walker that have happened to me.
Crazy.
And Asia and I are also very similar. So there isn't a like, which one are you more like? It's
You're
like,
a blend
there's a lot
of
of
them.
myself in both. Yeah.
Well, so I knew none of that, obviously, prior to reading the book, but you can tell just by the way it's written. And like, I wanted to tell you this after, but now that you're bringing it up, I may as well pay you this compliment now. It's so authentic and honest. And like, you can just tell there's just something about when a writer is writing from a point of view that they've lived through and that they've like feel, it's just so apparent on the page. And like from reading both like the story and hearing both of their like past and what they're struggling and what they're dealing with, like it could only have been written by somebody who has lived through it. So it's not surprising to me that you say, if you ask me to pick like who I am, I'm both. Like, yes, of course you're both. Of course. If you read that book, you would know. Like you just, it's so honest and powerful. And it's in both of the characters. Like it's such an incredible story, and we're going to get into it. But
I really appreciate that. That's so kind.
And I can't imagine putting these words on paper and then putting it up for sub and being like, okay, but not only is this a story I've made up in my head and the concept came to me while I was eating an edible at my aunt's house, but also like so much of me is so deeply rooted in these characters and in these stories that like, if they're saying they don't like it, like that's like a blow to me. Like they don't like me.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I was able a little bit to, no, there's, okay, that's not true because I don't think I can ever divorce this book from me, but I was able to sort of like, be like, okay, I think I very much rationalized it by like, being like, this is a business. I mean, just hammering, this is a business. At the end of the day, this is a business. This is a business. Like, fine, this is a business. Just trying to make myself like not be so sensitive.
Protect yourself
because I'm so sensitive. I'm so sensitive.
But like rightfully so. Like you have to draw those like mental lines in your brain to protect yourself. Like that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. But I was like incredibly lucky that, I mean, that like within like a couple hours, the first agent I queried was like, hey, can we read the full thing? And then I think it was the next day, my agent requested a full 2. And
wow,
it's like magic. My agent is Kim Leonetti.
Yeah.
I love Helen Long. The Kiss Quotient, the Heart Principle.
Me too. I love
the Bride Test. The Kiss Quotient has made me cry more times than like almost anything else.
I really love that book because it's so steamy, but it's so emo. It's like, it's the best combo. And like, I don't know if you read my review. I wrote like a tiny blurb on NetGalley because like I need to keep that ratio up. If you know, as a reviewer, it's a friggin' struggle. So I was like,
I feel for y'all.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to write a quick blurb for this, but then like I'll send the publisher my actual big review. Like after I do the podcast, whatever, I want to like put some thought into it. And I literally wrote like my first line of that review was like, this is the most epic combo of steam and swoon and emo. And like, when I think back to other books, like if I were to like try to think of like a book that made me feel similar to how I felt when I read a Bet on It, like it's definitely The Kiss Quotient. Like you can tell, no, I'm not kidding. It's in the same, like, oh my God, but it's like in the same realm of like the perfect blend. Cause
my thing is, I love sad shit. I love romance and I love sex. And the triangle of that, just like deeply devastating.
No, it's the whiplash. I say this all the time. It's like, make me horny, make me cry, make me laugh, make my stomach drop, give me butterflies. Like I need all of that in one. Yes.
That's the fan fiction in us, I think.
Exactly. That's what it comes back to.
Do you know what I mean? I always want the roller coaster of it all.
Yes.
Oh, it's the thrill.
It is. It is. It's the ride. It's honestly the ride. Me again, interrupting this podcast episode to remind you that this episode's sponsor is Probably Smut. Make sure to visit their website, www.probablysmut.com, and use my code GETLIT10 for 10% off. So that's wild. That's how you got your publisher. And then now Bet on It's coming out. So for those who have not yet read on it, we'll do this like spoiler free, but can you give me, I'm sure this is like one of the first-ish interviews you're doing about this book, but this will be a fun practice exercise. What is Bet on It about? Can you give me like a little elevator pitch?
Bet on It is about Asian Walker. They are two people who are like both really trying to learn how to live with their respective mental illnesses. And they meet in a small town at a bingo hall surrounded by like very serious, snippy, elderly people. And ultimately it makes them horny for each other.
So this book, like first of all, when I read the synopsis, I was crying because I was like, a sex pact in a small town with bingo. And then there's like body positivity rep and there's mental health rep. And there's just so much packed in one book. And I was like, how is this going to be like rom-com-y? Like this sounds like it's pretty dense. Like I'm interested.
Yeah.
And like, I was literally in for the time of my life because I don't even know where to start, but let's start with the tropes first. Obviously you're trope obsessed because you read fanfic. So like, we know that you love a good trope. But like, I love a good trope. When you were outlining this book, because I know that you said that this idea came to you in a very unique way, but what was like, did you have in your head, like, hey, these are the tropes I need to hit. Like, this is how I'm going to do it. Like, what was that experience like writing it?
So I knew I wanted sex pact, which to me is a trope, but I know it's not ever listed in like, when you look up like top 10 tropes, I think just because people like,
yes, people don't call this a trope. Do you on my Instagram? I don't know if you've noticed, but I do these roundups like all the time of romance book tropes. And people constantly come at me being like, this isn't a trope. I'm like, I'm making it one. If it falls under a category and it's a category that spans more than 15 books, it's a trope. Exactly. Sex Pact is so superb. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with them, but I am. And there's not enough of them.
Because they're fun.
They're so
fun.
And
they have added intention.
Yes. And like
added
like innate tension that's just in there. Like,
yes. I feel like Bet on It is a book of like almost tropes. Like it could be Grumpy Sunshine, but
yeah,
it really.
Could be. No, it could be. It has like hints of it. It has so much. Again, like you really pack a punch in this book. Like you literally would like, you came out with this book and you were like, I love romance books. So I'm going to give you every aspect of every romance book I've ever loved here. That's like what it is.
Yes.
It's everything but the kitchen sink kind of romance.
Yes. Book. And that's all I want ever.
Yes.
That's
I love
everything
it.
but the kitchen sink. Like truly.
Yeah.
Tag.
No, it's so good. But what makes it so much more like intense, and we kind of touched on it before, is like all of the incredible representation packed in this book. So when you were writing it, were you like, obviously it was your intention to include all of that mental health rep and that like body positivity, plus size body acceptance aspects of it.
Yeah.
But like, was that hard for you? Like, I can't imagine that that's an easy thing to write about. Like adding vulnerable parts of your life into a fictional story, I imagine is like cathartic, but it can't be easy.
No, it's not easy at all. Like when I was writing this book, I was like really struggling with trying to understand my own like trauma and mental health issues. And so a lot of it was really cathartic. A lot of it was like incredibly painful because like there are things in this book that I think I've never, and still like to this day even, have never like told anyone or talked about. Feelings that I like. And so it was really weird to me to be like, oh, here's the thing that you're still not comfortable enough with your new therapist to say, but you'll put it in a book that you intend for like, quote unquote, the whole world to read. But it was incredibly painful. And I also think that like the pandemic did a lot of like really weird stuff for me when it came to like my view of myself and like body image and stuff.
Okay. Like,
in that I think my body image, my view of myself got a lot better.
Really?
I can't really figure out why. I think it's because I like had to spend so much time alone with myself.
Yes.
And yeah, I was one of those people who like I think I'm cute, like, or, you know.
No,
sorry.
Continue. Yes. Continue, because I really feel this. Yeah. Continue.
In the before, I was like, oh, I'm cute, like, cool, confident, whatever. But like, I would never look at myself in the mirror when I brush my teeth in the morning. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't know why that stands out to me. I won't like stare at my own eye. I wouldn't stare at my own eyes in the mirror, because I was like, if I look too long that I'm cute, it's going to go away, because I'm going to start really digging in there and seeing it.
Yes. And I feel that.
And then at a certain point in the pandemic, like, I was like, fuck, I'm staring down the barrel of like literally just me. And I don't hate it at all.
And I am cute. It's really, I really can relate. Like my family and my friends always joke, because forever, for as long as I can remember, I always say like, I'm the best. I'm the best. And I always tell everybody like, yep, I'm the best. I'm the best. Yep. It's because I'm the best. And it was always like almost a like defense mechanism. Like if I keep saying I'm the best, everyone around me is just going to be like, okay, she chubby, but she cute and she thinks she's the best.
Exactly.
So it was always like I'm going to put it out there first so that you can't say something different, because if I'm confident in saying it, then like, you're not going to like knock me for saying that.
Exactly. You're just going to like kind of chuckle. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I can be like, maybe they were just surprised. Maybe they meant it, but it doesn't matter, because it doesn't have to be like a rejection. To make someone laugh, it's not a rejection with fat girl. Hey.
Like, exactly. Yeah. So I think I've never had like a look in the mirror moment like that, where it's like, I'm like, okay, like I'm looking at, I just feel like I've constantly been able to see myself for what I am. And I'm constantly living with this, like, I'm the best thing. And I think I'm going to like honestly be this way for the rest of my life. And I've just accepted it, and I've acknowledged it for what it is.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting to me that like you had that moment in the pandemic when you had no choice but to be alone with yourself.
Yeah.
And how that now translates to the page, because this leads me into the next part of the book, which is like the plus size rep of it all. It's acknowledged, but it's not harped on, which is so different, because in so many books, when there's a plus size lead, and I have to say they're getting better and like more, I don't want to even say like inclusive. It's just getting more like, and I hate the word normal, but like, it's just getting more like normalized, like standard, where you don't have to like address it in every situation. But like, especially in like the sex scenes in this book, her body is not a focal point. Like she's fully aware of what she looks like, and she's not hard. There's no pages and pages and pages of her being worried about what she looks like.
Yeah. Well,
she knows what she looks like and she's living it. Like,
yes. I have always wanted to write fat Black girls that are aspirational to me.
Yeah.
Because I've always been like, even when I am not the most, even when like me, Jodie, I'm not feeling the most confident about like whatever, even when I am about to go on a date with someone and I'm like, okay, my arms are so fat and maybe they haven't seen that enough in pictures and they're going to turn away and they're going to run and they're going to think I'm disgusting. I want characters to imagine that like they can just be fat and not have to do that.
Yeah.
I want them to have what I didn't have for a long time.
Yeah.
And I am so much better now. But it is a thing. Like it is a thing for me. Like, cause I do have like fat arms and it's like kind of one of my biggest gripes. Like I've gotten okay with my belly now.
Mm-hmm.
Like having my belly out and like, the outline of my belly and not like wearing like stuff that whatever, but my arms, it's tough for me. But I've been like today I'm like walking down the streets of London in my like little t-shirt that's like basically sleeveless, which I normally
would never do.
And I'm like, I know I have all these jackets and they're cool because I like clothes. Like I like, fashion, whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I've got this like jacket and it's cool. It's nice. It's not just like whatever. It's boring to me. But I'm like, fuck that. It's warm. You're walking up this hill, running up that hill, like they said. Take off the fucking thing and just walk and be fucking, you feel good. You feel sexy. Every other part of you feels confident.
Yeah.
You're not letting that shake you. And I still have to like, I think every day really get out there and like remind myself of that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times I want to write characters who are already there
at that point,
wherever I consider there to be.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's impossible to like live in this world even at your most confident and not have
100%.
But I also didn't want to put that on Asia as another thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted there to show that like there can be things that you are. I think Asia is probably more like body neutral. Like
in terms of how she views herself.
Yeah. Just kind of like I'm fat.
Right. Well, because exactly what I had just kind of said is like, she's not harping on anything. You don't get any of that like inner monologue of her being overly self-conscious over and over again.
Yeah.
Which is different. That was what's different about it, which is interesting. Like, I know that was a conscious effort for you, but like in every person, like everyone has their insecurities and things they're thinking about. But I just love that same way skinny people have insecurities and they don't harp about it in books. Why do fat people have to have insecurities and not harp about them in books? Like, it can go both ways.
Absolutely. Like there are tons of insecurities people can have that don't have anything to do with their body.
100%.
Fat people. Like Asia is riddled with insecurities. Her body's just not one of those things. She's
right.
She's lucky enough to not have to fully like.
Yeah. But can we please talk about the fucking sex of it all?
Hi, let's talk about the sex of it all.
God, like it's so steamy. It's like, honestly, I'm like really, really, really like shook by the steam. And I don't know why, because I read so many steamy books, but it's honestly a different level. Like, I feel like when you read a romance book that has steam, it just hits so different than like if you're reading erotica. Cause like erotica, you're expecting it, when it's open door steam in a romance novel, like that just is a whole other level. So like, what is writing sex scenes like for you? Like, if that's not too personal of a question, like I'm always so curious whenever I have authors on my show that like write incredibly detailed and hot scenes. Like how does that? And then tell me about the editing process of it all. Like, I want to know all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wish I could say that I like candles and like put on like a nightgown.
I'm setting the mood.
It is. I think I do set the mood. I do have to be like mentally like, okay, so I have to be like in a specific groove.
Fair.
To do it, and like because I need that like
energy,
incredibly like lusty, lovey energy. And I don't feel embarrassed when I write sex scenes, editing them, however, when I'm just like at the library hunched over my computer and I'm like, I do not want to edit this. So when we were, my agent, one of the only critiques my agent had for me was like, I think we have to tone it down a little.
How much did you tone it down?
A little. It's toned down a bit.
It is toned down a bit?
It is.
Okay, can you send me the rough cut, please? I think we're like friends enough now that I deserve the rough cut. Okay, so but like editing is just hell, I'm sure, right? Because now you have to like go back.
Well, it's also super hard to like, I feel like I'm maybe more precious about my sex scenes than anything else. Cause I'm like, every word is a groove. I'm like too precious about it. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm like,
fair.
It all needs to be edited, even the sex.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth.
Right.
But when I'm having to like edit, it's rough. I'm like, every word is like a groove and it's all a rhythm, and to change even one thing, not true. But so I get super in my head about it.
Okay, so that's interesting. So it's like, more about like the wanting to keep it the way it is more than like this is awkward to revisit.
Oh yeah. I never find it awkward.
And even when other people are reading it and critiquing it, you don't. It's not like
if I know them, I think pretty closely. Like, or no, if they're, if I. That's actually an interesting question.
Like when you were writing this book, because when your editors were editing the sex scenes in this book, at no point you never found it awkward. At all times, it was just like,
no.
Okay. But I have a follow-up question then. People in your real life, do you let them read your books?
My aunt has read my books.
Okay.
I will not let my mom read my books.
Okay. Like your friends and stuff that have read it.
I mostly just tell them like read it and we just won't talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it the sex part that makes you not want to talk about it, or is it like just the fact that it's your book?
I think it's just the fact that it's my book because I'm not shy about talking about sex with literally anybody.
Okay. The only reason why
my mom. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Nobody wants to talk about sex with their mom.
Nobody does. Not the way because I'm disgusting. Like, you've read my books.
It's just like extremely hot.
I'm not embarrassed about being a romance author. I tell people all the time, I'm like, I write romance novels. I told a guy today at the movie theater.
I love that.
He's like, what do you do? I was like, I write romance novels. I love telling people that.
Isn't that like insane though? That's like your job.
Yeah. Yes. It doesn't make any sense.
Speaking like to you, especially because like we're the same age, like it's insane that you're like, I'm like, I really like feel so much of you in me. Like I just know like from everything we've talked about so far, like I just feel like we're very similar. Like obviously we're very different.
I think we had similar vibes in high school. Probably.
Yes. So the fact that like you've taken this like love for like these types of love stories and been able to not only write your own, but like get them published and now like make this into your job is so cool.
Every day I wake up and I like cannot believe it.
I don't blame you. So like
even from like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. No, but you've made insane leaps in 2 years. Like, crazy. So now like the book's coming out. What are you most excited about? Like, what are you even like more scared of? Like, is there something that's keeping you up at night? Like that you're worried about?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I'm terrified that no one will buy it.
Well, I can guarantee you that will not be the case. I promise you, like as somebody that is very like immersed in the romance book world, I promise you that will not be the case.
Okay. That makes me look, my stomach, it did a little flip of like, of like ease.
Yeah, no, you have nothing to worry about.
I've been trying really hard to focus on what I do want people to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I really want people to like open the book and feel that like delicious, all those delicious romance novel feelings, but also feel incredibly warmed by these people and their love for each other and like the close people in their lives, and then trying to find a way to like feel that warmth in and love themselves as well.
Yes.
Just like trying with no declarations of, well, the journey's over. I love myself and nothing will ever be bad.
Right.
And I love this person and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what brings me the most comfort of like I said, I like the sad shit, right? It's a little more interesting to me, this concept of like, I love love stories where two like incredibly sad people fall in love with each other.
Yeah, and they find each other.
Sad, but really love each other.
Yeah.
And so it makes it
Me too.
Normal
Me
people, too. Where are you?
Literally. I could not agree more. I really couldn't.
So I don't know why I'm so fake deep where I think that like there's something so interesting about being sad, but maybe I'm a little bit of like a melancholy person. And I don't know. It's not something it's just kind of always been there a little bit.
Yeah, that's
where
fair.
You're like, I was like in a park today and kind of looking at the sky, and I was like very happy and very warm to be where I was and to feel what I feel. But there was also some like, oh wow, the trees are dying, but they're beautiful, but they're dying, but they're beautiful. Do you know what I mean?
You're seeing the full picture.
Let's call it that.
Let's call it that.
Like being fake deep.
No.
But too much fan fiction. Rotting my brain.
Never rotting your brain. It's the best part. It's the best of everything.
It's like
so
when I can't read anything else, I read fan fiction.
Me too.
I feel like I learned so much about romance and love stories from fan fiction.
I need to know, like, what you said that you're working on a second book now, like in this story world, right? So is there anything you can like tell me, or is it all still top secret?
Yeah. So Bet on It is in a series of standalones that they're all set in Greenbelt. They are connected by like, tertiary characters.
Okay.
The second book follows Miri.
Okay, good. I'm so down.
They're all gambling themed. Effectively, Miri, this is a very like childhood friends to lovers,
love
to spouses, to estranged.
Oh my God.
Like basically Miri has like a childhood love who she married when they were very young, very small town. And they were too young to be married and it didn't work out, but they were both poor people and like getting a divorce just wasn't whatever. So he left and it's been almost 10 years and Miri wins the lottery and realizes that this man ultimately could lay claim to like half of what she's got. And she's a little bitter about how things ended.
Yeah.
So it becomes a very much like, all right, if you sign my divorce papers, if you give me my divorce,
yeah,
I'll give you this much. And he's like, no. Because obviously he doesn't want to get divorced.
So it's like a second chance?
Yes. So it's a second chance romance. He's not a manipulative shithead. He's playing the game where he's like, I don't want your money. Help me. I want you. Help me. Yeah. Give me the money. Help me fix up like my family's like dilapidated house. And after that's done, I'll give you your divorce.
And they fall in love again. I can't deal.
And they fall in love again.
I'm going to die.
Ultimately, it's like also a critique on like poverty and being poor and all that stuff. Like Miri wins the lottery is overcome with like what it means to have your material conditions change overnight, but then also hates every second of the excess of it. And so this one's also like I think it's a also pretty like me working out my feelings on like how I grew up, like financially, how I was in my early 20s, my mid 20s, now, like my weird relationship with money, and like how that type of thing like completely changes everything you do, every decision you make. And just like having a bunch of money overnight doesn't make it weirder that it's hard for you to fall asleep in a house without a faucet with a constant drip now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah. What a different take for a romance book. Like, I just feel like you are now, after this book, and then I'm sure after the next one comes out, like you're just going to solidify yourself as like the romance queen that makes you think.
Stop.
That's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. No, it's actually incredible. It's really, and like, there's not enough voices like yours. So it's incredible that you're doing it, and you're doing it with such like vigor, you know, like you're really going for it, which is incredible. And we need more of these stories. For real.
So. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So where are we at in this process? Like, do we have any idea when this book's coming out? Because now I need to read it.
This book it should be next summer. It's called Play to Win. For now, who knows?
I know these things always change. So I can't imagine.
Bet on It used to be Either Way Up.
That's a cute name too.
Terrible. Because it means, okay, first of all, it's me being a troll and me making a bingo joke. Because Either Way Up is the bingo call for 69. And also it's a 69 joke. Isn't that so
Why
funny?
didn't you leave that?
We couldn't. It was a little too like esoteric to draw people in who like you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, until I guess.
You like really get to the
bingo lingo.
Yeah, very bingo lingo.
I love that though.
However, I almost got away with traditionally published 69 joke as a title.
It's too good. So it's actually hilarious.
I'm ridiculous.
No, you have the best brain ever, I think. I actually want your brain. Okay, well, that's really exciting. Yes. I can't wait. So when you have a version that's ready for an ARC reader, whose DMs will you slide into?
I mean, I guess it'll have to be yours. If I'm really going to sort of drag my feet about it.
And be like angry about it and resentful and be like, oh, I guess.
Kind of hits like kick it, just like punch it.
Take it.
Fine, fucking take it.
I can't wait. I hope I get it soon. I know you're only editing it now, but like maybe.
I do too. Well, so this is our like, actually after line edits, it should go to like copy. So.
Okay, so soon.
Hopefully soonish, like hopefully within the next like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, a few months.
Something like that.
Okay, I don't have to wait that long.
Not that long.
Amazing.
Patience is a virtue.
I guess, but like I don't really like being patient. Apparently neither of us like being patient. So.
Oh, I fucking hate being patient.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, well, this was so much fun.
It was a joy.
I honestly, like, I really love you and I really love this book and I can't wait for everybody to read it. And now when this goes live, the book will be out. So everyone could go ahead and grab their copy. Okay. Well, this was the best ever. Thank you so much for coming and talking to me.
Thank you for having me.
My honest pleasure. Anytime. You're welcome back anytime. I can't wait. The next book you'll be here. We'll be speaking about it. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much again.